Hey guys, Mike from Buckets. It is Wednesday morning. We are just about halfway through the week. As you can see, we've been demoted to the back room of our office here in Seattle for today's video, but that's okay. We will persevere. In our last couple of videos, we were very focused on the sandbox. In today's video, we're going to switch gears a little bit. A few weeks back, we revamped one of our modules. That module was our in-card attachments. So this was our system for attaching files within cards, and then what you could do with those attachments within the card. And undoubtedly, if you're someone that attaches things to cards, you have run into it, but it may not be overly obvious right away what you can do with this and why we did it. And so that's what I kind of want to get into today. First, let's touch on the why question. We can hop into a card real quick so that we can talk about this a little bit. So, new attachments, user interface. Attachments are now down here. You've got your screenshots, little thumbnails. You can minimize or maximize. This is on a global level, so you can have all your stuff minimized or all your stuff maximized. It doesn't take up much visual space down here, which gets a little bit into that question of why did we do this? Well, it was a little bit of a pet peeve of mine, and I think a few members of our team as well, that we had attachments right here where you see my mouse. It was right under notes and before the first checklist started, somewhere right in here. And so we had for each attachment, it would show a little thumbnail, give you some information. That was a nice aspect of it, that you had quick access to information and all the call to actions listed out right there. I did like that aspect. However, when you're doing it that way and you have a thumbnail and all this stuff listed out, that means that something about the size of this current note, this white area of the note here, that's about how much space you need for each attachment. And so, you know, you can kind of do the visual math in your head that here's one attachment, two attachment, three attachments, four. You get much beyond that. I mean, even at four, we're using a lot of vertical space here. And a lot of us are using laptops. We might be on like a MacBook Air or a little Chromebook. We might be using an iPad. Some of us might even be on the mobile web version on our phones. And it just takes up more real estate than the value it provides. That was my feeling, at least. So that really was a pet peeve of mine. There's also another aspect of this that I want to touch on as well, though. So let me take you through what this looks like on a fresh card so that we can kind of take it from the top. And I can also get into this other reason we did that. Well, still can't type. Third video, can't type. Okay, so we have a fresh card here. Let's bring in a few attachments so that we have something to work with. As you can see, there's nothing down here. If there are no attachments in the card, don't be worried. That's what it's supposed to be. We just don't want to take up that visual space just to tell you there's zero attachments. So let's drag and drop a few files that I have prepped on my desktop. Okay, down here these are going to catch up with little thumbnails. You see 1, 2. Okay, they've all caught up now, and we see these in our activity feed, and we see these with little preview chips, which is kind of alluding to what's next here in my presentation. But being able to see these chips of what was added and seeing these not only in the card activity, but if applicable, you're going to see it in your notifications as well. And that can just give you a much better visual indicator quickly. I mean, the brain, you know, for a lot of us at least, you know, picks up on things a lot faster if there's a visual representation. And so now there's this visual representation down here. If you mouse over these thumbnails, you're going to get some access to very basic but quick information that used to be accessible in this much wider area. So you've got the name of the image, you've got a little preview, a little bit bigger of a thumbnail preview, and then how big is the image. So we know the name, we know how big it is. Because of the naming structure of the file rather, we know, for instance, this is a PNG, this is a JPEG. So if we click on one of these, then we get this blown up full version of it. We can still download this to our hard drive if we want. So that's now downloaded down here. We can make this the cover of our card. So if we just want to back out real quick, mic test. You'll see this is the cover of the card now. Let's jump back in here. Okay. And we can also go side to side. So we can go here, here, here. Okay, this is the one that we were playing with. So really easy to move through files. We can also copy to our sandbox, which kind of gets into what we learned on the last video, or we can just move it to the sandbox altogether. And there's a couple ways that we can do that I can show you. In fact, let's show it to you right now. So if we have our sandbox open here, the same drag and drop rules of dragging and dropping a node or something apply here. We have the drag marks. We just grab it. We throw it in over here. Boom! It's on our sandbox. We want to bring it. We want to bring it back into the card. Well, just like that. Okay, now it's back into the card. Now, if we want to do our little trick holding down the Alt button, we can do that as well. And as you see, we now have it in our sandbox, but we also have a copy remaining in the card. So that's pretty cool. But let's get into the context of what the real world scenarios out there look like and why this can really be beneficial in terms of giving more accurate, clear instructions to yourself or to your team. So historically what has happened has been a little bit of silliness in my opinion, which is, let me give you an example. We might have a PSD, a Photoshop file, big file, not something that's easy to necessarily to preview. But it's a file that needs to be shared with each other. So we might attach that to this card, and then we need to leave an attachment. Okay, so we say something to the effect of, let's see, please download mic.psd. Please see notes regarding mic.psd. Okay, so this itself is a little bit like this is tough to make sure that someone's going to know what I mean, because mic.psd, that might mean something to someone. They might go look in the attachments, or they might not. What we ended up doing was, rather than saying please download mic.psd, we'd say like please download mic.psd, and then we'd have some link to like a screenshot file or something, so that we wanted something to actually be able to visually reference, so that people could be like, oh, this, okay, now I know for sure this is what he's talking about. So what we can do now with the new attachments UI is we can actually directly reference attachments within a checklist item or comments. So for example, instead of doing, hey, please download mic.psd, we could do something like please download, and let's say right here is our PSD. We drag this here. Please download, and then here it is, right exactly what we're talking about. They can click on it, they see the preview, and then they have some options. So they could click the download button right here. Okay, they downloaded it, and there you go. In the scenario that we talked about in our last video of like marking up a screenshot or something like that, so we take a screenshot, let's say we mark it up, using our doodle tool like we talked about last time. Let's say that we're bringing that into this card. Okay, well, to use that as a kind of a case scenario, please see attached markup notes. Okay, well, to then reference that in a random list of attachments, again, that was something that could easily be missed. So now we can go ahead and drag and drop this so that they know exactly what we're talking about. Now they're going to look at my doodle and say, I don't know what to do. But nonetheless, you can do it. So yeah, you can drag and drop this stuff all over the card, and like you saw, you can participate in terms of dragging and dropping it and moving things around within the sandbox and throwing it over into another card. So what this is kind of getting to in a bigger picture sense of our UX is that we're trying to make it so that if something feels as though it should be drag and droppable, we want you to be able to drag and drop it. We don't want there to be any guesswork involved. So If you want to drag and drop something to the sandbox, great. If you want to drag and drop something out of the sandbox, great. If you want to drag and drop something within the card, great. If you want to drag and drop something within the project interface, great. Drag and drop is something that is universally very, I think, understood. There's a reason why the GUI interface of computers with mouses and keyboard really revolutionized the ability to make computers more accessible to more people. And we kind of think, flash forward now almost 30 years, the same type of logic should apply within Buckets. So over the next 2 to 3 months, you're going to most likely notice more and more stuff like this coming to fruition. We'll, of course, let you know about it. You can check our social media. You can check, we have a new Facebook group, actually, that we've opened up that you can go ahead and join, and you'll receive these videos. We're hoping to have a lot of dialogue as well with you guys. So go ahead and join us there. We'll definitely be posting updates on support.buckets.co. So keep an eye out for more of these type of things. As for these videos, we have one more coming at you this week. So probably Friday midday or so it should go up. So we'll have one more feature that we want to touch on this week. So enjoy the rest of your week, guys, and we'll talk to you more on Friday. Thanks.